For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Telling you guys a bit of a review video on a kind of updated product from Zempire. So with me here today, I have got the Zempire Aero Pro TC TXL V2. So let me explain that. So it's the Zempire brand, is obviously New Zealand brand. Basically all their tents are basically built for basically just kind of quality as best they can do, without necessarily compromising on sort of price to a certain extent. So it's all about making the best tent they possibly can do. Aero is the kind of model, so we've got the Aero range. They do a Pro series, which is what we've got here. Then there's a TL and then a TXL, so that's the sizing. So with me today I've got the TXL, the largest model in the range, and I've done a separate video for the smaller one as well. Now this is different because it's TC, so it's technical cotton, or polycotton it's sometimes known. So they make a polyester version and a polycotton version. With me, I've got the polycotton. Last but not least, V2, version 2. So this is the latest model for 23 season going forward. And there's a lot of updates, a lot of things to talk through, and we'll go through kind of the headline news first and then kind of delve into more detail a bit later on. So the first main thing we've got here is the fact they've kind of chopped and changed the front a bit some more. So it's, even though it's the same kind of DNA, for example, it's had a little bit of a facelift. So now we've got a completely open front. As you see it here situate, we've got kind of the front wall kit as an optional extra added onto it, which consists of kind of an actual door and then a full mesh part. Really, the tent should look something like this. So as you can see, it's a completely open front, changes the dynamic really of it. Then you have the options to use just the mesh, or of course, the actual door on its own. So you have the options like doing either or. Failing out, you get some king poles supply with it, so you can they call goal wing it out and create an additional canopy area onto the front of the tent. It does change the feel of it, certainly from the front canopy section in comparison to its predecessor. The beam is a bit higher as well, so actually for me you've now got a much more usable space in comparison to the older model. One of the other things they've drastically changed is now we've run on a single point inflation system. So one point located in the middle of the tent pumps the whole tent up in one go. Now I would probably say if you're going to do that, which you have to, you do get a manual pump supply with it. For me, you would probably have to have a break or two while doing that because there's a lot of air going into the tube. For me, I would probably pay a little bit more and get an electric pump. Press a button, do it all for you, regulate it to the right pressure, cuts off when you need to go, runs on 12-volt cigarette lighter. For me, that's by far and away the easiest method to go for something like this. Now, even as a single inflation point, there are several deflation points at the bottom of every single beam. So it's easy to get the air in and then easier to get the air out. Now, God forbid you did have an issue and a single inflation point doesn't work, Zempire do provide you with an adapter for the pump which will allow you to inflate each beam individually, so it becomes sort of a multi-point inflation. So you get the best of both worlds, but really they're harnessing their single point inflation system. Now, one thing I will mention is probably in the last 10 years, multiple brands have tried to do single point inflation and there's been an issue with it. Zempire have actually been one of those brands and one of the only brands not to have an issue, and it's something the system they've put in place here is the same they've had in their highest spec range, which are about $5,000 upwards. So it's a very well tried and tested system, and it's something, for once, Zempire seem to be the only people to get the single point inflation probably right, in my opinion. Now, what the joys of this is you've got a roof beam bracing right through the center, and we'll look at that a bit later on when we come inside, but it means you get that roof looking absolutely taut like a drum, and it means you can't really pitch it poorly, to be honest with you, apart from say down the bottom. This also helps with rigidity, so you've got a much more stronger structure throughout a tent, so it really is a lot more stable in comparison to its sort of predecessor or anything else in the marketplace, just because there's a more structure throughout the whole of it. And we've got loads of kind of extra things like little roof windows as well. So we've got the new sky windows, which again are still tinted, so you've allowed lights come into the tent without having got a compromise on your privacy as well. Now, because they're a New Zealand brand, they're kind of more geared up for hotter summers and colder winters than we have in the UK. So that naturally reflects in the tent itself. So ventilation on every single panel you can think of, just allow that circulation of air to help make it feel a lot cooler. Naturally, with the polycotton material being breathable, you're getting that anyway, to be fair. So on a warm day, The weave expands, allowed air to pass through. On a cold day, contracts and keeps it in. So it's the best of both worlds. Really, we're seeing a bit more resurgence for this in polycotton, certainly for the UK market, just because we are getting slightly hotter summers. And generally, it's a more comfortable environment to be in because of that temperature difference. What you can also notice is the fact that from a longevity point of view, it does last longer, and generally it's a more nicer, softer fabric that doesn't necessarily flap in the wind and makes that synthetic kind of noise. So the caveat to that is the fact that it is a bit bulkier and naturally heavier. So you do have to kind of pick and choose what is best for you. One thing they've also done with removing the front door, it makes the main tent a little bit lighter in comparison to its predecessor model. Not a lot, because they have essentially altered the height of it at the front here. So the beam at the front here is increased in height, making that whole front section a lot more usable, like I said. Other things to sort of mention the fact is, like I said, with ventilation panels, we've got a really nice 50-50 split. So tinted windows, obviously, like I said, allow that privacy, but full zipper curtains on the inside when you want to, and it even covers the roof windows as well. And it's the finer details with Zempire you tend to notice, things like webbing adjustment straps on every single point around the base of the tent, and the pegging loop you got is a nice solid metal ring. Same with essentially the bag, everything is all tightened, so it's designed something to last, and naturally you do see that, of course, when it comes to the price of it. Naturally you pay for what you get on that sort of things. We've got a side door located on here and the same on the other side. This one here has got a rain-safe canopy door with an aluminium pole going around it. So again, it's not your sort of normal fiberglass. Again, it suits the level the tent is. And this allows you to have a rain-safe canopy door to come in and out. So when the rain comes down, it's going to distribute itself around the actual tent and not mean it's coming directly into your main living area. Having this sort of ventilation point here allows you to have the certainty that you can have an airflow without having to worry if it's drizzly and rain's going to come in a little bit more. Lower ventilation beneath the windows. Also by the side of the bedrooms as well. Again, it's all about kind of having that airflow in the tent itself. So we've also seen the different multiple ways you can look at it and the flexibility kind of the front door. But let's talk a bit more about the inside of the tent and go through along more features that the tent has to offer. Test. 1, 2, 3. So now we're inside the tent, you can probably appreciate kind of actually for the slight change to the front part of it as well. Admittedly, it wasn't overly clear, but hopefully a little clip earlier sort of give you a bit more of an idea. But by having that sort of front that also completely detaches now, it sort of opens the whole front section. As we got situated here with kind of that wall kit creating an extra canopy, it generally brings the outside directly back in. Other things to mention is the fact the beams are made a bit more upright, and obviously, like I said earlier, this is a bit higher, so naturally it does more feel open and generally feels like you've actually got usable space in here. With the door kind of situated halfway like we have it here, you suddenly have got an area that you can actually quite happily put a sort of cooking stove or generally nice outdoor seating, and I think, to be fair, it works really quite nicely and well. Still got the windows, and from looking from the outside in, you get that clarity going out along with that sort of tint. It's not going to completely cut out visibility, but it does actually help, certainly when the sun is glaring. Into the main living area, what we have is Zempire's 360 door. So it gives you the flexibility that you can have a sort of fully open, half open, and it's got a mesh door directly built into it. So when you want the level of privacy or stopping anything coming through, you can open that up, like so, to get that blockade against it. Failing that, what you can also do is you've got 2 zip pullers around. So what you can do is open up the mesh, create a little veranda kind of part to it if you really wanted to. So it allows a little bit of airflow directly in, so you can keep the dogs from getting out, but still have the airflow coming directly through. Or of course, open up fully. You can kind of mirror image what you've got to there, and it tucks away into a little corner pocket quite nice and neatly. As we had it a second ago, we obviously had it sort of partially open. So you can have the door open halfway. You have got toggle points located here, so you can roll that back, toggle that back quite nice and neatly, and then utilize that for dead space for a cooking unit or some furniture from the inside as well. 360, fully out, zip along the bottom, so you've got a real complete bug barrier even along the bottom, which sometimes you don't get with other brands, and it goes away into a nice pocket located down there. And again, you just kind of continue on that kind of open space into your main living area. Now, as I mentioned earlier with the height, for me, Being 6'2", I can stand up in the corner. I'm not the closest away from the bottom of the beam, admittedly, but from a verge point of view, being a bit lower, you will get it nice in a closer as well. Real nice, strong, sturdy beams, oversized as well to take up the extra canvas weight, and you can probably just about see the extra roof beams we've got located throughout of it, given that structure. And each one's got its own isolation tap, so if for any reason there is an issue, you can isolate it all off, take out the single section beam, patch it, repair it, replace it if need be, put it back in, and doesn't compromise the rest of the tent, which is quite crucial. And I mentioned earlier, it's very much tried and tested. 2 doors on either side to allow airflow, so the weather changes or the wind changes, you can still have that bit. Admittedly, only one with the kind of the brow canopy, but even so. And then windows in the front section, great clarity as we see in the front. A bit different on the side, it's full window down to the very bottom part here, just allow that bit of air into it with the vents. Now, Zempire's windows, what they do, in fact, this one's probably a bit easier to view it, is they have almost like a, we'll call it like a gusset, should we, to it. So it sits away from the window a bit to allow you to have the ventilation from down low swoop up into the tent, but still gives you that element of privacy. So by doing like so, there's zips along the side. You've got this little kind of almost vent that appears up here, so you have the air flowing directly into the tent as well, but again, no one's going to then look in even with the tinted windows. The curtains are all made out of PVC as well, so again, you've got the element of breathability throughout all of it. And one thing you will see certainly is the warranty wise, Zempire tend to offer a longer warranty than any other brand, so you're looking 4 years with no need to register or anything like that. From the bedroom side of things, we've got this really nice versatile bedroom setup. So really it's a true 6-person. When I say that, I mean you've got about 7 centimeters per person. So you'll fit a double air bed in every single section, which again, not all 6 berths are necessarily the same. What you have got is this multi-bedroom door. So you can really pick and choose what setup you want in the bedroom section, be it a 2, 2 and a 2, a 3 and a 3, a 2, 1, 1, 2. You know, you've got lots of flexibility in that, so you can, it's never really a problem of how many or how you want to sleep, or the kids get older, want their own space. You've got the ability to adapt to that. Cleverly how they've done it, if you've got multiple doors, and looks a bit like I don't know, Alice in Wonderland, but you've kind of got the ability here, so the doors can fully open up, roll to the side, and there's a divider located in here. I've done a separate video kind of talking about the whole multi-door system, which hopefully should explain it a bit better. But the thing I do like about it is, even though it's a multi-door system, you've still got zip dividers between the sections, so you still got that level of privacy without having it be just toggle points in the corners. Naturally, a darker material as well hopes to give you a better night's sleep. And what they've done is they've also colour coordinated the fabric on the outside to again create that kind of darker environment in the actual tent. Below, we've obviously got a real big mesh panel located right at the back. Again, it's to help with circulation there and try and, when you've got a lot of moisture and things like that, get the air coming nicely through. In the corners, or the end bedrooms I should say, there is storage pockets located down the bottom as well. This means you can put sort of things like keys, phones, that stuff in a neat, nice place. Cable entry points located at the top here allow you to have your mains coming in. You've also got a little hanging lantern point as well, so you can have lights inside the actual bedroom. And also, it's worth saying you've got quite a low sculptured lip, so there's not much of a trip hazard in and out of the tent. Hanging points for lanterns also feature in the main living area, as well as actually on the canopy area, which we'll bring the camera in a second. And you've got Velcro tabs running down to cable entry points, so you haven't got to worry about necessarily having the cable coming through a door directly. I'll tell you what, let's pick the camera up, bring it inside, and get a bit more up close and personal with some of the features that the new Aero has. So, I think the first thing I'd probably say is, like I said, you can see that canopy depth from there, and probably you can appreciate it from the inside of it. Really nice and done, and you've got this extra zip which you can kind of do what you want to. When you've got it in this place here, the mesh panel will zip on, and this panel then clips on, so you've got a really nice kind of overlap. Hanging point for the lantern located there, and that's the kind of the taps that we're talking about with the isolation points. So each beam is done individually, can be isolated off individually, and it's a really nice sort of general size. When we come in for here, you can see open the 3/6 door and how it all opens up. And generally the kind of bedroom section works really nicely, and the lights coming through that sort of part there, even though with the sun beating in, is quite nice. It's quite a comfortable temperature in here considering how hot it is. I mean, we're talking about 30-degree heats at the moment here, 32s, and it honestly feels bearable in comparison to some of the polyester tents I've been in today. Ventilation point at the front of all the bedrooms as well, so you have the airflow directly nicely in, and there's that little entry point for the top, so you've got two built onto the bedroom, and really you can have this almost like I said a 3 and a 3 if you wanted to, or a 4 and a 2. Yeah, the one thing I do love is that it's a really nice flexibility part, and you, like I said earlier, cable entry points located down the bottom with your Velcro tabs running up to your main point located there. There's an array of bedroom you can buy to go into it, so it is an additional purchase this year, but you can make this an 8-person if you really wanted to, by buying the additional bedroom. So basically took it out really just because not many people were necessarily using it. But we'll kind of have a little look around the outside and get a better feel for it now. So again, you've got the storm straps front and back, but it just sits, look how well it sits. That's just something you can't really argue, and actually from the colour point of view I think it looks really quite smart. Guide points at the back, and that's the thing as well, it sits this well and they haven't even guided out completely, which you really should be doing, but that's just kind of the element of kind of how it overall looks. The back beam's a little bit lower than that, so the water's going to naturally drain off, but you can see headroom height throughout of it looks really quite smart and well. It is a model we're most likely to have up on our indoor display showroom, so if you were wanted to see it in the flesh and see the quality and all the features and even the bedroom scenario, I think getting your head around that can be, like I said, a little bit of a minefield, but it does what you want it to do. Then by all means come back and pop down. For more information on the tech spec and all the information on pack sizes, weights, floor dimensions, you can always check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website where we have all the information listed there, as well as other videos about pitching it, packing it, other tutorial videos we've got listed around it as well. You can also actually add a connection onto it if you wanted to make it bigger, and actually go and make an aero base on the front of it if you wanted that whole extra section, so you can make it even bigger if you really wanted to, which honestly people have. It's a great way of having a gazebo attached to your tent and having that fluid flow all the way through. So overall, as you can probably tell, I think the improvements they've made are honestly are quite big. They've made a lot of additions to it and made a tent that had a great specification but maybe wasn't 100% practical. Now for me I get that practicality in here. The size, the additional roof bracing beams, I think it just ticks a lot of boxes, and even though it sits at probably the top end of polycotton in terms of not only say price point but specification, when you compare it to the rest of the market, I think generally it kind of outshines it really, when you compare it for me to the Attwoolls or to some of the outdoor revs. It's horses, of course, is what you want out of it. But for me, I think generally, yeah, for the price, albeit what it is, it's good value when you compare it to the rest of the market. So yeah, if you have any more questions, queries, by all means let us know, and we'd love to hear from you guys on what you think of the product, and any other talking points you want to know, what you want to see. It's always great to have feedback, and we always do endeavour to pass it on to Zempire. But that's kind of our overall video review and in-depth view on the brand new Zempire Aero TXL TC V2. Hope to see you again soon, but thank you for watching.